Hello, my name is Herin Park. Let me start the presentation. The title of my paper is Video Content Representation to Support the Hyperreality Experience in Virtual Reality. Most research on providing multimedia content in 3D interactive virtual reality has been limited to social media content and location-based information. Few studies propose the video representation method of existing TV shows or movies in the filming location or related background places. To effectively represent the video clips based on location in VR, it's necessary to understand the film tourism experience called hyperreality. In hyperreality, film tourists recognize and experience the filming location as a place shown in the film regardless of the location's authenticity. Thus, we aim to investigate a video content representation method to support the user's hyperreality experience in a virtual reality environment. In related work, many researchers have studied the effects of hyperreality experience on film tourism satisfaction. They show that film tourists enhance their hyperreality experience by reenacting cinematic scenes and imagining the filming location as a narrative world. So far, there have been several studies that reuse geotagged content in virtual reality. However, these studies focus on remediating social media content and didn't consider its context except the spatial information in representing content. The setting means the time and place of the story in movie and TV show. It delivers spatial involvement and a sense of place. As shown in the figure, the time covers the character's time of life, time of a day, time of year, time period such as the past, present, and future. Place covers many areas such as room, building, city, country, beach, mountain, and various transportation modes. The setting creates an atmosphere of the narrative world and help viewer understand the characters and story. In our study, we expected that reflecting temporal and spatial elements of the video content in a virtual reality environment would significantly enhance users' hyperreality experiences. We had two research questions. The first was, how do reflecting time and place elements of the story setting in virtual reality affect the user's spatial presence and narrative engagement? The second was that, is there a significant correlation between spatial presence and narrative engagement? For the user study, we chose a scene from Korean television show called 대장금. As shown in the video clip, scene's temporal elements are night and snow that represent the time of day, time of year. The spatial element is privacy building, where the characters were sitting. The scene was filmed in an outdoor set, but the actual setting of the story is the historical place called Jejumok Government Office. As it's a historical site, tourists can only visit the place during daytime. Also, there isn't the pharmacy building because it's destroyed. Now the site only remains. Thus, it's difficult to experience the narrative world in the virtual reality, reproducing the real place. We implemented the Jejumok Government Office as shown in the figure. We used the Google Daydream SDK in Unity for the virtual reality function. We set the experimental condition as shown in the video. In the non-adaptive environment, the user watched the video in a virtual reality, reproducing the real world. In the time-adaptive environment, the user watched the video in Jejumok Government Office on a snowy night, but there was no background building. In the place-adaptive environment, the user watched the video in front of the pharmacy building, but the time setting was not applied. In the fully adaptive environment, the user watched the video in a virtual environment, reflecting both spatial and temporal settings of the story. We conducted a within-subject experiment and we adopted the spatial presence and narrative engagement questionnaires used in the CVR study. We used the Daydream View and Samsung Galaxy S9 in the experiment. We recruited 24 participants according to the complete counterbalancing method. The final sample consisted of 24 participants. We analyzed our data using repeated measures ANOVA. As shown in figure A and B, the spatial presence and narrative engagement were significantly higher when time and place vectors were applied to the virtual environment. When comparing each vector's effect, the spatial presence and narrative engagement increased more when the temporal element was applied in VR. We also found a positive correlation between spatial presence and narrative engagement, and its subscales narrative presence and emotional engagement, as shown in the figure C. We collected feedback through open-ended interview and conducted a thematic analysis of our data. As a result, we found that the participants felt that time-adaptive environment provided a similar atmosphere to the video content, and it enhanced their hyperreality experience. In contrast, we found that only providing the background building didn't much affect their immersion in the video story. Participants said that the different time and weather created the different atmosphere, and it reduced their presence and engagement. We also found that the building emphasized different viewpoints between the video and the participants. Also, participants negatively evaluate the realism of the virtual space, as their attention was distributed to the surrounding environment. In the fully adaptive environment, participants felt the highest spatial presence and narrative engagement. They had a specific mental image of the narrative world where the characters live and empathized with them. Based on the experimental result, we proposed design implication on how to provide an atmosphere and viewpoint of video content in VR based on the scene metadata. In this paper, we proposed a video content representation method to support the hyperreality experience in virtual reality. We demonstrate the significant effect of our proposed method in terms of the spatial presence and narrative engagement and their correlation. Thank you for listening to the presentation.